Konnichiwa and hello. My name is Paule Saviano and I'm a documentary and portrait photographer from New York City. I'd like to thank everybody for attending my exhibition called Embrace at Gallery EF. And before I speak a little bit about the project and the evolution of this exhibition, I'd like to thank everybody at Gallery EF and especially Keiko-san for making this exhibition possible during these extraordinary times due to the coronavirus. I wish I was there with you to experience the exhibition and speak with everybody, but I'm very happy and very proud that we were able to still have this exhibition. So thank you for coming, and I hope you find the exhibition interesting. I first started photographing transgender and gender non-binary people in the summer of 2016. At the time, there was a very public and visible debate in the United States about transgender students and their rights, their civil rights, and how they were able to transition publicly. I've always known transgender people throughout my life. I'm not part of the LGBT community, but growing up in New York City, I've always been around the LGBTQ community and been an advocate for their rights and respected everything that they stand for. What interests me about transgender and gender non-binary people, I wanted to find out the emotional aspects of transitioning. I wasn't necessarily too interested in the physical aspects of it. I always wondered when a person realizes that they identify with a different gender that they were assigned to at birth, and what that process meant emotionally. It probably is a very painful and powerful feeling, and I tried to grasp what those feelings were in this project. I photographed people from the United States, the Netherlands, the Czech Republic, and Scotland for this project, and I do hope to include people from Japan once I eventually can come into the country. As you make your way through the exhibition, I hope that we've provided information about what it is like to be transgender, and in certain places, transgender and gender non-binary people face an elevated rate of discrimination, violence against them, and higher suicide rates and murder rates. I'd also like you to really understand that in some places in the world, an exhibition like this would be illegal, and you wouldn't be able to promote these type of lifestyles. And it is very sad that living outside of the traditional gender spectrum is considered illegal in certain places, and the promotion of this type of lifestyle would be considered criminal. It is something that I never realized until I started researching, and it's a sad state. The first photograph you see entering the gallery is a 6-year-old transgender boy named Brian from New York City. My experiences and journey in the project began with Brian. And that's why I wanted his photograph to be the first that is seen when entering the cure. Brian was the first transgender kid that I knowingly had met. What interested me most about Brian was how someone so young could identify as the opposite gender that they were assigned to at birth. And how is that possible for a 6-year-old to understand? But as I went through the experience of this project, I actually learned more about myself and how, even though I was open-minded about everybody I met, the traditional gender stereotypes were deeply ingrained in me, even though I didn't want them to be. My first reaction to Brian was, he was definitely a boy. He spoke about superheroes and sports and playing with toys that were typical male dominated toys. But after I met more transgender people, I quickly realized that there were some transgender girls who I had photographed who still kept the interests that they had before they transitioned. So they still like sports. They still spoke about things that you would think a male would speak about. So even though I was really open-minded about who I was meeting, these deeply ingrained stereotypes about gender and traditional gender roles were still in my mind. This was an extremely difficult exhibition to put together. They always are complicated and take a long time, and we have to pay attention to detail. But when we originally scheduled this exhibition in March, that was when the COVID-19 outbreak hit most of the world outside of China. New York City became the hypocenter or the epicenter of the outbreak. And living in New York at the time was very difficult. There was not a lot of preparation done before the outbreak. There was a lot of disinformation being spread, and there's just confusion. And at certain points, the whole city shut down. We weren't in a lockdown, but we were cautious. Hardly anybody was out in the streets. Stores had closed down. We really didn't speak to one another, and it caused a lot of anxiety. Here I was supposedly doing an exhibition that had been planned for 2 years in Tokyo, but I wasn't able to have it, and we weren't sure when we were going to have it. The conditions in New York have greatly improved. That is a contrast to the rest of the United States, where the conditions with COVID-19 have gotten worse. In New York, we've lived under a 1% infection rate of COVID since June. So everyone is wearing masks, everyone is socially distant, but I can't say the same for the rest of the country. Outside of the New York area, it's a quite different story with COVID-19. In the United States, we've been averaging 40,000 to 60,000 new cases of the virus each day. 1,000 Americans dying every day. And in New York, while we have it under control, it is not under control in the rest of the country, and it affects us greatly here because we're supposedly one country, and being able to travel internationally won't be possible for an American until the whole country gets the COVID situation under control. It's made a lot of anxiety for this exhibition. I was only able to have this exhibition because of the great work that Keiko-san and the staff at Gallery EF have put into preparing everything. Just a little bit about my preparation. What you see are 4 years of photographs and also 2 years of preparation. I spent the last 2 years making prints and trying to arrange them in the order that you see today. I took a lot of care into how this is presented and how these photos try and tell a story about who these people are and what they're experiencing. From the quotations to each portrait being selected, and also by the frames. We took great care about every little detail. One detail is the frames that you see. When I explained to Keiko-san that each person in this project was born the gender that they did not relate to on the outside on their body, and some of them are transitioning, and we used some wood to construct the frames, and the wood was located on top of the roof of the gallery, and the wood is worn and it's not perfectly painted, and I kind of wanted to use that as a metaphor of each person transitioning. They are in most cases transitioning to the opposite gender that they were born in, and it is not a perfect transition, and there are a lot of emotional scars and rough periods in their life, and I also wanted that to reflect in the frames, where you see some of those frames being worn and missing paint and being a little bit imperfect, and I kind of wanted that that analogy to each person. So we took great care in every detail that you see here today.